that day I am not a nice person to be around. I'm a really miserable bastard. I'm really not a nice guy. I want to feel like 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, maybe even 10 out of 10. Some people can achieve that. It's possible.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me on another episode of the Plant Free MD podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Anthony Chaffee, and today I have a very special return guest, Mr. Jonathan Griffiths, who is just off of a very successful win at his bodybuilding competition. Jonathan, thank you very much for coming on. It's great to see you, man.
Again, it's nice to actually meet you in person a few months back in public health collaboration somewhere in the UK. I can't remember where it was. But I'm glad to be here. Hopefully I'll be able to give people some useful insights into what I do, how I manage things, and hopefully promote bodybuilding, body composition, physique sport in the carnivore way of eating. So let's have it. See what we've got to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so, like you just said, we just said you just got off a bodybuilding competition. You're doing this on carnivore. You've been carnivore for a number of years. And what was your experience getting prepped for a bodybuilding competition with no carbs, just eating meat? What was that like?
It was pretty easy compared to what I used to do, actually, when I look at it. So I'm 4.5 years in now. I started on February the 2nd, 2020. Mm-hmm. And every sort of year or a few months goes by, I'm a bit more strict, a bit more adherent. My diet deviates a little bit, maybe a bit more fish, a bit more eggs, a bit more meat. Just go to appetite pretty much. Mm-hmm. Your body doesn't really lie to you if you give it the right signals and do all the right things, pull the right levers. Mm-hmm. But largely speaking, the satiety benefit you get when you're dieting down, guys, is unbelievable. Mm-hmm. When your protein is as high as mine, you just don't tend to feel hungry that much. The hard part is when you're very lean, so sub 4% body fat, according to digital body fat calipers. It's tough because no matter what you do, you feel like death. So I don't advocate for this thing, sort of bodybuilding thing for anyone. I wouldn't recommend it, but I can sort of show people this is roughly how I do it. This is roughly how someone else can try and do the same thing. But it's going to be the healthiest way to do it. Honestly, it really, really is. Your inflammation's lower. You don't have to train as much. Your muscle retention's higher. Your fitness is better. Digestion's better. And I've always said, since day one, really. I mean, I've competed over the span of the last since I was about 16 years. It's about 13 years at this point. Mm-hmm. Done 8, 9, 10 competitions. And I've really found that the bottleneck of bodybuilding in terms of physique sport is always recovery. And as we know, the carnivore diet, your recovery is insane. I know you've said before about, you're in the gym, you're sort of thinking, I'm going to see how many sets of squats I could do today. Do like 20 sets. Oh, not bad. Do another 10 more, do another 5 more, that sort of thing. I can't train that much because of various issues in my back and spine and things, but I can certainly get a lot out of my training, and the recovery is so much better. Your sleep's better, everything in your body is just so much more efficient. And it's unbelievable when you actually look at yourself in a mirror day by day and you're thinking, I can see exactly where I'm going from point A to point B. Each intervention is very clear to spot because you're not holding that subcutaneous water, that excess, inflammation that your body would otherwise have on a high carbohydrate diet. So dieting down from the point of a coaching standpoint, and you've got less water in your body, your silhouette is a true silhouette. It's not inflated because you're carved up sort of thing. It's very true and accurate. So you can actually measure what you're doing easier, and therefore you can manage what you're going to do and what interventions you're going to pull in terms of diet, training, recovery, that you need to sort of pull. What levers you need to pull is much more effective to manage. So for me, it's been a drastic benefit. And I know it sounds kind of like sensational, like, yeah, but, are you really that much more muscular? Well, actually I am. Actually I am. So what I will say is I acquired a certain level of muscularity, which was pretty good considering on a carbohydrate based diet, years and years ago. But what I find incredible, which people don't quite understand, they say, oh, you built all this muscle and you didn't do it on a carnivore diet. No, I exceeded my previous muscularity with a carnivore diet. That's the key point here. So, as we scale up our muscle mass, from rugby training, things like that, as you get better and more towards a peak level of your sport, you'll find that it's harder and you have to work harder and you have to be so much more accurate at everything and, more pedantic sort of thing to achieve more from your sport. For me, I've been able to get that last 10%. That would take me way longer, like probably twice as long on a carbohydrate-based diet with a carnivore diet. So for me, I can say it's definitely been extraordinary in terms of getting more results from my body. I deal with like a lot of inflammation because of my spine disease, hip issues, and chronic fatigue, autism, all those sort of things that I live with and have been diagnosed with. And it just made my life so much more easier to manage. And I remember in our first podcast we did something like a year and a half ago, I was saying to you, Dr. Chaffee, 2 years prior to this, I was so inflamed I couldn't sit in front of a camera and just chat to people, and I was so anxious. I like at the thought, oh, there's this guy from Australia. I don't know who he is. I don't know what to say to him. I'm nervous, and I'm still quite an introverted person, but my natural confidence has definitely shined through. And that's evident in the fact, I've built up my YouTube channel. Admittedly, it's not huge by any means. 10,000 odd subscribers at this point.
Great though, man.
But for a guy that's pretty much disabled, 10,000 subs. I don't really know what I'm talking about. I ramble all the time. I don't make much sense, and I got a lot of criticism from the last interview we did. So many troll comments, guys. It's nuts. A lot of jealous 40-year-old men. But you know how it is. But yeah, like I said, the results have been mad, honestly. And every year that goes by, I'm thinking it can't get much better than this, but it does. I don't live in perfect health. I do look significantly aged, but that's probably because of what I was doing before. So now I'm at the point where I can sort of say, yeah, I might not have the longevity I might otherwise had I always been healthy and been born normal, quote unquote. But I can live my life in the best possible state that I can with the diet that I follow. So I'm grateful to people like yourself who've just provided me with all this information, Press Blockade, Sean Baker, all these guys that have just made life so much easier and have given us really clear, accurate information. That's easy, helps us actually take a step forward in terms of our health span and lifespan. So yeah, I couldn't be more pleased, honestly.
Yeah, good. And that's great to have that contrast too, because you were you were doing bodybuilding competitions in the traditional ways, and then you switched over, and and so you can compare this to, you've done both, and you're saying like, this is a lot easier. I'm not inflamed all the time. I'm not all puffed up. I don't have to bulk up and then bulk up with all this carb weight and fat and muscle and muscle glycogen and intramuscular fat and water weight and all that stuff, and then try to lose all that garbage and then see what you're left over with. Like, oh, okay, so that's all the lean mass I got. Damn it, it wasn't as much as I was hoping for. Now all you're putting on is just lean body mass, and you're just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it doesn't go away again when you're cutting down. When you cut down, you're just cutting off fat, and you're not cutting out the size or the bulk of your muscle bodies, because you don't have to deflate your muscle bodies with water, glycogen, and intramuscular fat. It's just solid muscle. So it's great that you have that inside perspective that other people don't have. That's great.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm trying to stand as an advocate for the community. So people with neurodiversity, like I mentioned earlier, people that maybe in the sort of in that middle line, that grey area, they're like, oh, I might be animal based, might go Paul Saladino, meat, fruit, and honey, might just scrap it all together because I can't be asked. I don't see a benefit. I'm trying to say to you guys, look, I've been there, I've done that, been through the hoops, I've tried all the diets. This diet is such a massive benefit to me. Honestly, the what I'm noticing more and more is with clients, like I coach, a handful of people at a time, they're getting so much quicker benefits because everything's so much easier to measure and therefore manage. Then they're not dealing with binge eating and this sort of thing. All this sort of stuff just doesn't really happen.
Introducing Beef Up Carnivore Bodybuilding Bible. The ultimate guide for men and women to lose fat and build muscle. And the best part, it's only $12. Don't miss out on the most detailed resource available. Get a copy now at compositionconsultant.com.
Now, what we'll typically see if we go to a bodybuilding convention or exhibition is the girls or guys will step off stage and they're like, everybody gets like, oh, we sell cookies and loaded donuts and all this crap. And you think, okay, this is a fitness convention selling donuts.
Yeah.
What? It's unbelievable. And that's the commonplace. That is, go to the Arnold Schwarzenegger Sports Festival. They're all sort of promoting this sort of way of eating. So I'm going on Instagram each day. I'm like, junk. then I look at my day of eating and I'm like, well, I'd actually rather have my day of eating tins of sardines and mackerel and eggs and chicken and beef and all sorts of things much more than what they're eating, because I know before, during, and after I eat that food, I feel much better. I'm the one always like laughing, thinking, "You think that's good? You're just eating decoration and sugar, basically." So there we go.
Yeah, definitely. And it is unfortunate too that all these so-called fitness competitions have been sort of overrun with this junk food garbage, and then paying off. Even Arnold. I mean, he got paid off to do the Game Changers thing and push a plant-based diet, which is very disappointing because his own experience was exactly the opposite. Oh, if only I was vegan during my bodybuilding days, I would have won 10 competitions. Like, really? Because you were carnivore when you were doing the Mr. Olympia, because that was what everyone was doing. Steak and eggs, steak and eggs, steak and eggs, because Garanda and Serge Nubret really set the mold for how you train and get ready for these competitions. And it was steak and eggs, steak and eggs, steak and eggs. And his body idol was Serge Nubret, who ate 6 pounds of horse meat a day, and was an absolute unit. I mean, that guy's got one of the best physiques of all time. And so, saying that, oh, it would have been so much better this other way, there's absolutely no basis for him to say that, apart from just money, which is unfortunate. And so, I mean, I guess, Whole Foods is better than the junk food and donuts, but not all that much better. I mean, it's just not proper nutrition. And it's sad to see, these very influential, very famous people pushing something that's bad for people.
Yeah, I kind of blame it on like the brain fog and the inflammation. Guys like us, we're sort of following a carnivore diet. If you look at my channel, Dr. Chaffee's channel, we only promote things which are actually helpful to people. We're not putting out products that are just rubbish, Oh, this is a product, this isn't a package, it's got 10 ingredients. Like I know you do I think like carnivore bars and tallows and things.
Yeah.
Well, they're animal products. You sort of say like in your videos, you don't need to try this, you don't need to buy it, but it's better than having a Snickers bar, for example. I think it does actually have some kind of spiritual kind of benefit, this way of eating, that you sort of, your morals are more ethically aligned. You think, well, there's people going to watch this, between myself and Dr. Chaffee here, we've got something like 390,000 subscribers. And I'm thinking, well, that's not far off 500,000 people that we can positively influence. Why are we going to squander and waste that opportunity by putting out crappy products? We're here for the long haul to sort of put forward a positive way of eating, it's going to benefit people for real. Because when we get emails from people, my life's changed because of this, I'm like, you're taken back, and it's so much more rewarding than like the odd 10% commission fee on your, I don't know, protein bar or something, whatever. Like, I'd rather take the long term. I get to go to bed at night with a clear conscience. So yeah, definitely all for it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I this isn't my day job. I'm very happy, seeing patients and doing surgeries and just being a doctor. This is just because it's important. I think it's important. I see it helping my patients and myself and my family and everybody that comes across it. And so I think it's important to get the message out there and to show people how to do this and do it in the right way so they can get the most health benefits out of it. And so if something's not gonna fall in line with that message, I'm just not interested in pushing it. And I'm very selective with I only take sort of 2 main sponsors, that I do ads for, and that's because I don't want a whole bunch of ads on my videos. I don't want that to take away from the message. I do a 2-hour podcast and it's got 2 40-second ads in it. That's not all that much, and even then I'm just like, no more than that. And because it's just like that's not what I'm here for. And so if it is going to be something, it's going to be something that I'm that I'm happy with. It actually adds to the message, like you said. And I'm sure you do as well. When your channel starts getting those numbers, you start getting emails from weird companies saying, hey, do you want to hawk this supplement or these organ tablets or this and the other? And it's just like, yeah, no, not really, and
or cholesterol lowering products.
oh really?
They sent me this.
Yeah.
You're sending it to the wrong guy. They sent it all the way from Australia. I'm like, oh right, okay, send it right. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm shocked because I'm like, do you think that I'm going to promote something to lower something your body is creating to help you?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Well, it's probably true. They're like, well, you're on this carnivore diet, so I'm sure your cholesterol's through the roof. So you can definitely get behind this. And like, the whole premise is that it's not bad for you. And that's where we're going on. Oh, that's funny though. But yeah, so you get these people offering you whatever, and it's just like, and YouTube has a thing now where they just pop up like, oh, a new sponsor wants to do something with you, and I just have no interest, and then I'll just do it's really easy, like a couple minutes to sit down in front of a camera and just say, hey, here's this supplement and here's these organ supplements or this vitamin thing or whatever, and you get like $1,000, couple $1,000 just to make a 30-second 2-minute video, and then you run it for 30 days, and then you can put it on private for 6 months, and then take it off. It's like it's nothing, I mean, that would fly right under the radar of people, and it's just like I have no interest, absolutely no interest. I'm not going to promote something that I don't believe in, and I don't really want to promote many things anyway. But if it's something that adds to the message, great. Carnivore Bar, I love what they're doing. They're doing this in order to have a product out there that people can have on the go that can replace military rations. That was the whole idea behind it in the first place, was that this is something that we could give to our troops in the military, and they actually have real nutrition out in the field instead of these really garbage rations that they give out. And so that's something I can get behind. And and so that's fine. But if it's something else, there's no need for it. Like, I have a day job, I'm happy with that, and I'm not looking for a career change.
Yeah, completely agree. Should crack on and talk about diet and stuff, because people are going to complain in the comments and say, oh, you've not told me what his diet or training is like.
Yeah,
God forbid.
They can calm the hell down, I think.
They can relax a bit. They need to eat more nutrients.
That's it. Maybe they should try some of those supplements. Maybe that'll help. Or just a carnivore. It could be good. But yeah, so as far as your fitness, your competition prep was concerned, was there any change from what you did, and especially leading up to the competition? That's something that a lot of people ask. Well, how do I get that super lean, unhealthy, low body fat physique leading up to a competition? How was that for you?
It was challenging towards the end. Basically, your feet go numb all the time. You sit down the bench, you lose circulation to your backside and your feet and your legs. You have to sort of prepare yourself every day, every time sometimes you sat there. When energy so low, you almost forget to breathe. Honestly, I'm not exaggerating. In terms of like what I did for my diet, so my diet was determined by what I was doing in the off-season phase. So I've reached a point where I was trying to basically do like a mini priming thing, but over a long period of time. So I was trying to ramp up my protein intake and find that satiety spot where I was like, okay, this is where I feel like I don't really want to eat more protein, but at the same time, that's the right amount for me based on my training recovery, muscle soreness, fatigue, how I slept, how my digestion was. And I found I landed at 350 protein, just of protein grams. So for anyone wondering, that's, I don't know, 1.5, 2 kilos of meat a day, something like that. And what I also found was my fat intake was that's basically lowered very quickly. I'm not someone who likes to hang around and sort of, do a 20-week diet. No, I want to get shredded quick. I'm not wasting my time. I've got things to do, people to see. And I don't really want to be on like 210, 205, so I basically just dropped it right down because I knew I could do that based on my previous experience. I've competed as a carnivore before. This time it was way more effective. and my fat, sorry, was 120 grams. So protein 350, fat 120, and it never changed from the last 3 to 4 months.
Yeah,
So I
wow.
never adjusted those macros. The only thing I did do though was based on check-ins with my coach, Marty Rice, is that we included some refeed days. So as that competition approached, my body become more tired, drained, body fat levels get lower. Your leptin needs a bit of a reset effectively. So your metabolic rate will start to it starts to dwindle a little bit. Your body slows down, your respiration rate slows down. You can't train that hard. Your training volume has to go down a bit. Intensity sometimes has to drop off, but I try to keep it as high as possible for as long as possible. Then all I do is look at the check-in photos week 1 to week 2. Oh, you look very flat this week. Your training performance has gone down. And we have flat basic embodiment means if you've not eaten or you're on a fast for like 3 days, you know what it's like to feel flat. Your muscles just don't pop to them. Like right now, I'm not flat. You can see like, I've got solid full muscles because I'm fed. I'm not in a cutting phase, so to speak, right now. Now, when you're flat, basically, your performance does go to crap. Honestly, it goes to crap really quickly. So every roughly 7 to 10 days, sometimes 2 weeks, I'd have a refeed day, and it'd be a Saturday or a Sunday, just because that's when it works out well. And that'd be something like plus 50 or plus 70 grams of fat. So what you find is when you eat that food, your body picks up a bit, you get a bit more fullness in the muscles, and the 1 or 2, maybe 3 days training sessions after that picks up a little bit because you've got more energy, muscle glycogen, that sort of thing. Then it allows you to sort of keep pushing down. So basically sort of ramping down a bit, too low, up a bit, and down a bit. So it ends up being like a little step every time. So you're just trying to like gradually lose body fat over time. What I did do, now I'm quite limited in terms of my output, what I can do. So my training style is high intensity, very low volume, 3 to 4 sessions per week. What I did was just use steps mostly as my lever to drop body fat. So that means I'm outside, guys, not inside staring at the wall or looking at my phone on treadmill. I'm outside in the sun, ideally. And I'm just going for a walk with the dog, just, tracking my phone. And say 1 week it's like, okay, say my baseline's 3,000 steps a day. I'm not very active. My body is wrecked. I can't do 20,000 steps. It's not going to work. I'll be in bed for like a month. So I'd increase it by maybe 500 for that week. So 3,500, 4,000, 5,000, this sort of thing. Over time, gradually, then that's how I got into shape. I just increased my output just through walking, basically. Then I think when it got to the point where I was about 7 to 8 weeks out, we added in 10 minutes of cardio. So for me, cardio is like a slow plod on the treadmill after the gym. Just because I'm already doing cycling to and from the gym, it's just a way to sort of add it on somewhere. And it was either elliptical trainer, cross trainer, or just incline walk. Very, very slow stuff. I can't be, treading hard on things and destroying my body. And that was 10 minutes every few weeks, as needed, as required. When body fat loss slowed down a bit, add in 5 minutes. Would run that for a week. Pictures. Oh, improvement here and here. Less fat in the glutes. Good. Don't need to change anything. Okay, run the same program. So it's very methodical approach. Every intervention was carefully thought out by myself and my coach. And I got into shape effectively doing that. What was interesting is I looked at my chronometer because I'm nuts. I track everything. I've track my diet, macros like 10 years now. Not a requirement, guys, if you're out there and watching thinking, I need to track everything. No, but if you want to get shredded, it does make life a lot easier because like I keep saying, what can be measured can be managed. And my calories, a measurement of heat, guys, not a measurement of food intake once it's been taken in by the body at all. But if you looked at the calorie amount, just a broad overarching number to compare protein, carbs, and fats combined to make a number, they actually were pretty steady throughout. But I went from 110 kilos, roughly, maybe 110, 111 kilos, down to 91 kilos on show day.
Wow.
And that was without dropping calories. There was no, zero fat days or anything like that at all. And I can probably show you on my phone if I can find it. Maybe, I don't know, but I'll share it with Dr. Chaffee on the system if I can. But yeah, basically what I found was my calorie intake was something of a magnitude of like, okay, here we go. You probably can't see, but I can share this either after. But you can see that green line basically means that's my weight. So you can see the weight's obviously gone down. Apologies, it's blurred out. It's part of the Zoom thing. The orange thing is the supposed calorie amount.
Yeah, right.
So calories in, calories out, debunked straight away. So your body's a biological dynamic system is the terminology that I use. So people out there thinking, oh, I burn this many calories per day. It's up and down all the time, guys. If you get a bad night's sleep, that'll negatively impact your training performance, which will negatively impact your energy balance. So it doesn't compute, it doesn't work basically. So what I'm looking at with my diet is how do I get the most bang for my buck in terms of what I eat? How do I train in a way that's going to give me the most benefit with a minimal effective dose without overstraining, overburdening, and inflaming my body? Then also, how am I going to find ways to recover better and better and better? So I've got red light therapy panels, I've got blue light blocking glasses when it's dark. My screens all go red all the time. So I'm autistic. I live with sensory overload. So I have to more carefully manage than most people. Getting a good solid night's sleep, good pillows, good mattresses, grounding sheets. I'm grounded for like 95% of the day. Every biohack you can possibly use, especially when you're getting lean, is going to be really helpful. But you're not going to see the benefit overnight. It's when you sort of compare and contrast what I was doing 3 years prior on a carnivore diet and competing to versus now. I can see all these things have much more interplay in terms of benefiting recovery and therefore improve my training performance. As we know, if we can maintain training performance, we actually improve our look, our physique. So if we're, say, lifting 100 kilos, towards the end of prep, if you're going down and dropping to like 60 kilos, chances are you probably dropped a bit of muscle. But how are you going to retain that muscle tissue? It's going to be through maintaining your training. So the model of, eat less, move more simply doesn't work. It works in an effect, but when you're getting very, very lean, you're not going to be recovering if you're dropping your food intake by half of baseline amount, because your body will slow down and account for the fact that you've just halved your intake. So it's a very nuanced kind of thing to discuss, but that was the diet side of it. I'm happy to go over the training if you'd like, roughly what I'm doing.
Yeah, definitely. What's your training? Because the thing is too is that what you sort of mentioned and alluded to that people may not understand, that you've actually had very serious and extensive back surgery, and so obviously, most doctors would probably tell you you're never squatting again. You're never putting back loaded, loading through your axial loading through your spine ever again. That's probably not a good idea. So how was that for you? And what was take us through your lifting routine?
Yeah, so what I do typically, and I've done this for most of my training career, is mostly resistance machines, so not free weights, basically. So, for example, rather than doing a barbell squat, I'll do a hack squat, in that my lower back is pressed against something, therefore the axial loading is reduced, obviously, because my lower back's against something, my upper back's against something, so I'm spreading that weight across a larger surface area. And if I do a barbell back squat, my body has to stabilize much more. The more you have to stabilize, yes, you'll probably get more overall muscle fiber recruitment, but you'll get less isolation of muscle groups that you want to work, and the risk of injury is significantly higher. And I also deployed some high intensity training principles. So that means I'm doing very slow reps. My repetitions, you can find it on my YouTube channel. I've got an exercise playlist which shows you exactly what I'm doing in the gym as I'm doing it, as I would do it. It's not for show. It's not Ronnie Coleman lifting up 800 pounds. It's me just lifting a weight to stimulate my muscles, then leave the gym feeling somewhat safe and not trashed. But I'm doing something like around a 10-second eccentric, so into lowering phase. Usually 2 to 3 second hold, but I'm doing that in a position where it's the most tension. So, for example, in the hack squat, it's a very generic example. I might stand at the top, might start it, got a timer in front of me. That's a way of me counting what I'm doing because it's more accurate to measure, because 1 second will always be 1 second. Whereas if I say to Dr. Chaffee, I'm doing 10 reps, well, 10 reps of what? 10 reps of 1 second or 10 reps of 40 seconds? I could be doing 10 seconds of exercise, or I could be doing minutes or hours. So the seconds don't lie, guys. So that's why I'm using that. And for me, as someone's trying to be especially safe, I do find much, much, much more benefit. Now they did a study which was quite a few years back. You can probably find it online or chat GPT and ask it to tell you who the author was. I can't remember. But basically, it was 1 second reps, 4 second reps, and 10 second reps. And they found that the muscle growth by the end of it all, after a period, I think it was 3 months, was the same. So doing explosive reps doesn't cause more muscle growth. It's a bit of maybe a misnomer. It's like a typical bro sort of thing, like, lift explosively, then lower it slowly. But that everyone's been saying that for so many years, but no one's actually looked at the research that we do have. So yeah, like I said, the hack squat example, 10 seconds down, 2 to 3 seconds at the very bottom. But that's where I know, okay, my lower back is not extended in a certain way. I've not got too much flexion or extension. I know that's a safe position. So I'm going to hold that there and use my quads to activate and push up the weight. When I go back up, it'll take about 10 seconds. So largely speaking, I'm recommending to most people about a 5, 2, and 5 second cadence, with the 2 second isometric or static hold being the most difficult part of the movement. So that way you can control the rep and you're not using any inertia. Now, this is specific to bodybuilding, guys. It's not like powerlifting. If I was a powerlifter, I wouldn't be timing anything. I just want to get that weight up. But for me, it's not feasible to do anything heavy. I mean, I'm doing like 2 plates per side in a hack squat with a band to make it safer at the very bottom position where my lower back could be compromised. And that's been really, really effective. But if anyone wants to know like my sets, reps, and what I'm doing, I tend to train on alternate days. So that lands me somewhere around about 3.5 sessions per week, or 3 1 week for the next. I do not like training back-to-back days personally, just because the intensity level of what I do in the gym is at technical muscular failure or beyond. So usually that means, for example, you lift until you can't lift safely anymore without using some inertia or cheating it up, basically like a bicep curl like that. Concentric muscular failure means you can't push it anymore and it just gets stuck. When you can't push it anymore, when you can't hold it anymore, that's isometric failure. Then when you can't push it anymore, can't hold it anymore, and can't lower it down any slower because it will crush you, that's eccentric failure. So each degree of failure will result in a greater degree and magnitude of intensity, and therefore a greater, more deleterious impact and effect on your training recovery. So the idea is you have to get in there and find out, based on experience. I can't tell people what to do. How far along that line in terms of training intensity you have to go to get the result. Now, some people use the model of high reps or high volume and do 45 sets per week. Problem is, once you get to 45 sets per week, what do? You're stuck. Then you end up spending hours in the gym under blue light. That's going to negatively impact your cortisol levels. It was a massive overburden and stress to your body. And therefore, you're spending 4 hours in the gym like Dr. Chaffee does sometimes, or used to. And for people like me that are particularly light sensitive, it's not going to be helpful. So I tried to be in and out as quickly as possible. So I don't want to be in the gym for hours. It just drains my soul. So 3 to 4 sessions per week, 5 to 10 seconds either way up and down, 2 to 3 seconds hold. In terms of total volume, so everything that I do in one session will be between about 6 and 10 total sets. Now, none of my sets require any warm-ups, because when it's taking you 20 seconds to do your first rep, you don't need to do a warm-up because you spent 20 seconds warming up. Then what you actually find is I'm doing something between about, on average, between maybe 4 and 8, maybe 9 reps. But that's going to take me sometimes 2 minutes to perform. Some of my sets are even 2.5 minutes. But what you'll see is that last 30 seconds where I'm doing that last rep, it will take me like half a minute to do it, because I'm like shaking. If I'm doing a leg extension, like trying to bring it up, and it's just not moving. It's not moving. So that's the point where I know, okay, I can either overburden myself and do drop sets, rest pause sets, forced reps, these sort of things. But that will negatively impact my recovery. So you need to find out where your recovery is at, how many sets you need to do, how frequently you need to train, how your muscle soreness is, what your appetite's doing, how well you sleep at night, and check your logbook to make sure that when you're looking back at your training parameters, you're looking back at your training metrics. So, for example, the 100 kilo squat, what have you. Are you progressing from session to session or not? And if you're not making somewhat steady progression, whether that be over a 6-month period or 2-week period, you're probably not building more muscle, because we know that strength is probably the best indicator that we're gaining muscle in terms of bodybuilding. So that's what I'm looking at. And that's my training philosophy in a nutshell, basically.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I like that idea with the slower reps. You know, you're putting much less load on the joints in your back, and you know, if people are dealing with injuries, that's a very good option for people to have. I know there's a lot of trainers, you know, going back decades, that really like that really slow sort of movement. And yeah, like you said, you know, the studies, and there have been numerous ones that you can do fast reps, slow reps. You can do high weight, low reps, or low weight, high reps, and things like that. But as long as you're going to failure, you're going to temporary muscle fatigue. You
It
tend to
all works.
yeah, exactly. It all works, and so that's the key: is just going to failure, going to fatigue. And if you're doing that with a lighter weight and slower, more controlled reps, you're more likely to be in control at that point of failure and not hurt yourself, which is always good, especially for people that are starting out, but also when people are you know, have a lot of weight that they're pushing around, and that can hurt you. And so yeah, I like that. I toy around with some of the slow reps sometimes as well, and then I think it's just because I'm impatient.
A man.
I'm just I'm
Yeah.
just like, not screw it, and just crank them
Yeah.
out, and I just try to wear myself out as
It's
quickly as
part of being a
possible.
man, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. It's almost like an ego we have, because it's hard to, we're trying to separate that, let's get that weight up and see how much we can push, versus, well, how much can I destroy my muscles? It's a
Yeah.
different kind of mindset. But once you've done it for a few weeks, you start logging it, like, oh, this set took me 82 seconds. Next set, 83, 84. Like, as weeks go by, you've got that number to calibrate by, because you know what you're doing. 82 seconds of reps can be 82 seconds. You've got a standardized form, standardized metric to measure what you're doing. Therefore, you're just chasing the timer. And that makes
Yeah.
it fun for me, because I come from a background, Chaffee, as being quite a competitive sprinter. So for me, I was always chasing time. You know, I used to run 100 meters in 11 seconds.
Yeah,
Not
nice.
anymore. Not anymore. But I could do 100 meters in 11 seconds. No joke. And for me, having that timer sort of side of it was really helpful. So I remember going back in the day when I was like 12 years old. I used to be on the seafront near where my nan used to live, and I have this old like brick phone sort of thing. It had like a stopwatch in it. I'd have it in my pocket and be like, press it, put it in my pocket quick, then run as fast as I could. I'd go from lamppost to lamppost, and I'd just time it. And I was doing that over and over again, like doing like wind sprints, because I was doing it like 9 o'clock at night, because I had to basically sneak out the house to do it, because a lot of people didn't like me going out on my own sort of thing, because my brother wouldn't always go with me. He's out of friends, you know, he's 6 years older than me, so with friends, you know, that age sort of thing. He's about 18 at the time, so yeah, it's not going to be easy for him to sort of keep an eye on me sort of thing. But I used to sneak out the house just to do activity, and I was like, I'm gonna bloody win sports day. And I always won sports day, the sprints and all that sort of thing, because I put the time into it, the dedication. I know no one else is doing that. That's the thing. It's the stuff you do behind the scenes which makes the biggest difference. So I speak to lots of people, you know, clients and things, and I'm like, yeah, but what else can you do? But what else can you do? You know, how can you eke out more results? Because the people that come to me are serious people that want to do some damage. You know, they put their effort into it. They put some serious welly into what they're trying to achieve. So when they come to me, I'm like, okay, what have I done that you could try? You know, we're always trying to sort of hack our way through and find ways to do things better. So as a bodybuilder, if you're a bit neurotic like me, a bit over obsessed, overzealous, then the timing stuff really does work. And I suggest people try it out for a few weeks, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. That's another thing. You talked about, you know, your muscles being flat and bulked up and things like that. I heard that you know, some bodybuilders, you know, when they obviously they're in a cutting phase, they're basically just eating just very lean protein, cutting down all their, you know, their macros and things like that. But then, like, one thing that they would do is they would, like, the night before the competition, they would have more carbs and things like that, and water, and that would sort of plump up the muscles with glycogen and things like that. Is that something that you did yourself, or you dabbled with, or you just Did you have anything like on competition day or the day before that you changed, or is it just the same exact routine straight into competition?
I get asked this question a lot. I'll say, largely speaking, most people that ask me about carb loading, that's what they're pretty much talking about. They're not in a position to do it. They're not lean enough to make a difference. If you upset your gut microbiome, you add in a food that you haven't been eating for 3 weeks prior. I think it's about a 3 week period where you can sort of keep food in. So some people I know actually consult with, and they like to have a bowl of fruit on a Sunday with their mum or something. I don't know, whatever. I'll say, okay, you're going to have that each week on a Sunday with your mum. Then move on to the next thing, next meal, carnivore, what have you. Now, when you start doing these things where you strict carnivore lion diet for 6 months, bodybuilding show 1 week later, okay, I'm going to add in 1,000 grams of carb. That's daft. Don't do it, guys. Your gut microbiome is not built to withstand that sort of change that quick. And for what I did in this carnivore bodybuilding contest prep was fat loading. So we used the prior weeks as data. So I knew, okay, if 70 grams of fat gave me this result on between day 1 and day 2, I knew that that was going to give me the benefit in terms of fullness that I needed. I'm someone that doesn't really go flat, and it takes me a long time to go flat, if that makes sense. Which shocked my coach. He's not a carnivore coach by any means. He's more of a carb-centric model of bodybuilding. He's like, "You're very full." I'm like, "Yeah, I've not eaten carbs in, exogenous, significant source of carbs for a long time." And he was like, "That's weird. Oh, it must be the triglycerides." I'm like, or your body can transmute fat into glycogen downstream if you let it, and if you eat enough protein. So there is something called gluconeogenesis, which guys can Google if you don't know about it. I know Dr. Chaffee obviously knows, but your body is built to withstand these low carbohydrate, low insulin states without any issue at all. So that was basically what I did. So my competition was on Sunday, and I knew roughly I'd be on stage somewhere between about 11 and 12 o'clock, give or take. So what I did was I made sure my training was always before that time. So the time I'd get a pump in the gym, build myself up sort of thing, would be the same time roughly that I'd be on stage performing. So my training timing was actually specific. It specifies, because I knew at that time of day, okay, I've had that much water, that much salt, roughly, give or take, this much protein, this much fat, this many meals. This is the result that's going to give me at this time of day. So that's what I was priming myself for. Then what I did basically was, with the information I had from prior weeks, I believe it was Thursday we did the higher day, so I added 100 grams of fat. Friday, I believe we added 70 or 75 grams of fat. Saturday was my normal diet day, so if I had any digestive upset or issues from that prior, it would fade away basically. And also at that point, I was also on a bit of a deload, which means you're not training too much. You're just going to the gym, just moving weight. You're in a point where when you're that low body fat, you can easily get injured. So you're basically reducing your output, reducing systemic inflammation, letting the food do its job to fill you back up. So you're not depleting more because you're eating more. You're trying to actually just let your levels go up in terms of your muscle glycogen. Then by the time Sunday hit, I was in the best peak condition I could possibly be in. Now, what did I use before the show? Did I use any magical, prescription drugs to dry out? I took, I believe, 2 dandelion root extract capsules, which was very effective. But for me, because I wasn't holding much water at all, you don't really hold water when you're on a kind of risky ketogenic sort of style diet. It did a bit, but I'd say I started to feel a bit headachy. So that tells me for next time I compete, maybe just do 1 capsule. I felt quite dehydrated, and when you're too dehydrated, obviously you lose water, you start expelling more water through that sort of diuretic effect. Then you start to become flat. So you need the glycogen side of it, so it means more fat. You need the hydration side of it, so more sodium, and also more water. So we didn't taper off water or anything like that. We just made sure that I drank enough on show day that I wasn't thirsty, but not so much that I'd be distended, impact digestion, bloated, or anything like that. Just enough to sort of get me through, really. But that's effectively my peak week. But that specifies to me. Someone else could try the same thing, and it could backfire. But there's no way to know unless you do the data analysis yourself. have pinpoints in time where you can say, oh, this is what I did this day. This was effective. This wasn't. So there we have it.
Yeah, very good. And so actually, I actually, hopping back to what you mentioned before, is just something you mentioned briefly, but you're grounding almost 90% of the day and you have a grounding sheet in your bed. It's not something I've looked into all that much. The stuff I've looked at is actually very interesting and very, intriguing as to the benefits of grounding. But what has your experience been with that, getting that? It's one thing to just go out and walk barefoot around on your lawn or something like that, or walk in a park. And obviously it's a bigger investment to buy something for your bed, the grounding mat. What have you noticed just adding in the grounding side of things?
I think it's not something which you're going to notice a benefit from comparing yourself week to week.
Okay.
I think it's more of a longitudinal thing which you notice if you compare twins, twin A, twin B. This guy's grounded 100% time, this guy's grounded 10% time. Okay, maybe you could draw a conclusion and say, oh, this guy's got more plaque in their arteries and better cardiovascular health. I don't think you can easily measure it, and that's part of the problem with the grounding itself. But mechanistically, we do understand there's hard science on it. It will reduce inflammation. I believe it does. Don't quote me on this, so someone will have to do the research and find out for themselves the number itself. But I believe it reduces the viscosity of the blood by a factor of 3 or 4, something like that. And I was quite shocked to hear it, because 3 or 4 times less thickness of your blood is quite significant. Imagine you're doing that all the time.
Yeah.
It's only going to benefit you, in my opinion. So, I mean, for me, my investment, I'm somewhat disabled, I guess. I don't have a ton of money, but I could still afford it. So, for example, my grounding mat, grounding pillow combined are about 60 British pounds. So maybe 80 American US dollars. So it's quite affordable. And it's not something you just have and you've got it for a week, you chuck it away. You can use these things for, I don't know, a year, 2 years until they turn to rags, basically. And they'll do the job. And if you don't want to do that, guys, what you can do is you can actually get, just be careful with this one. You can get like a clip-on bracelet, some sort of copper bracelet, I don't know, some sort of conducting material, maybe around your ankle or something, or your toe, I don't know. Or even just put a bit of metal behind you on your back when you're asleep, like a flat sheet. Stick a wire outside, pin it, stake it into the ground. And there you go, you're grounded, done. So it's affordable and it's achievable by a lot of people. But I'm not going to say it's going to change people's lives overnight and they're going to sort of notice the benefit. It's something you do over a long period of time to acquire a subtle background effect.
Okay. Yeah, nice. Yeah, very good. So, one thing that we were talking about last time and a bit now was your experience with autism. As you say, you have autism, and that's something that was very difficult for you before going carnivore. You said that it'd be very difficult, very anxious, and things like that. But how has your experience been? With going carnivore? Obviously, you were bodybuilding before that, so you're still able to get the job done. But what has your experience has been now? And how has that been going? Have you seen progress from going on a ketogenic carnivore diet? But also, it's been 4.5 years now. Have you seen an improvement subsequently, since those 4.5 years? Has that improved, or has you sort of got to a point where it's like, yeah, it's gotten a lot better and it's been pretty stable since then? Or what has your experience been with that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I would say that the most benefit I achieved was somewhat in maybe the first 1 to 2 years. After that point, it's less as much being on a carnivore diet that's the benefit. It seems to be more that you take on more biohacks. So if someone's in the carnivore space right now and they're watching this, they're a month in, they've done a challenge, whatever, join Chaffee's group, yeah, you're going to get an immediate benefit. Something's going to happen. But down the line, you're going to start chasing more benefits. So maybe you get 90 or 80 or 70% benefit in terms of your subjective whole body well-being. Maybe you started at a 5, now you're at a 7 out of 10. Or on the field, like 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, maybe even 10 out of 10. Some people can achieve that. It's possible. But then you start incorporating more biohacks. And I think that's been the main thing for me. So the light exposure, sussing all that out has been very effective. I think that the diet is probably the largest part of the benefit I've had in terms of the things I've intervened with. I'd put that as rank number one. Rank number two for me as an individual would be the light exposure. Then the third, fourth things would be probably the community settings, obviously meeting people like yourself, chatting to other people online, making new friends, new experiences. That's definitely eased my symptoms of autism because I've met people that understand me a bit better. Because I've got over that main hurdle of being anxious. Now I'm at the point where I can start to sort of branch out a bit more. I still get social burnout, so I don't, I'm not a extroverted person by any stretch at all. I like to spend about 95+% of my day on my own, in the dark. No, not in the dark, guys. But yeah, I do find the benefits kind of add up a little bit more each time I add something in. And what I have found, which is quite surprising, and I've actually noticed more and more and more. So, as one of the very few autistic people in our space online, there's not many of us that really come out and talk about it. I found that people that have a diet higher in omega-3, especially through things like fish, do seem to see a positive improvement in their mental health. But I don't think it's a case of just eating loads and loads and loads of fish. I think it's have some fish as your appetite permits and suggests. Then if you go off it for a few days, don't have it, get some eggs in you, some choline, all the sort of cofactors. And if we look at the mechanistic data, and even blood tests even of people that have autism and the genes, the polymorphisms, MTHFR perhaps is quite bad, detox pathway is quite bad, or poor, sorry. Different genes that come into play suggest that maybe we need more of certain things than other people. I think being in a somewhat stressed state from being anxious or being autistic can mean we require more food. And that's been my experience overall. So we do have to follow our appetites a bit more, be a bit more diligent, a bit more pedantic at times as well, just trying to be a bit more accurate of what we're eating. Some things do really cause me a negative effect. So I'm very intolerant to berries, obviously. I don't eat them now at all. And dark chocolate is a killer for me. Yeah. If I eat even a square of dark chocolate, that day I am not a nice person to be around. I'm a really miserable bastard. I'm really not a nice guy. But I suspect it's the theobromine and some those sort of chemical compounds in it which give me some deleterious effect. But it's all individual, guys. So I would look at a lot of the diet side of it for the most part, then look at the other side of things. Just tackle one thing at a time. Don't try and achieve everything all at once. Just tackle one thing. In my personal experience, I'd look at the diet first, the light exposure second. After that, be maybe the exercise. If you don't exercise, getting outside in nature. Then also the social side of things as well. So tying it all together, meeting like-minded people, just learning as well, and following your passions is quite important to me as well. So I spend probably about a third of my time researching, listen to podcasts like Dr. Chaffee's and stuff like that. I'm an information whore, basically. I always want more information.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, finding your passions is super important. So hopefully there's some young guy out there that's like, I want to go to the gym and I want to, follow carnivore diet, feel better, not be anxious anymore, not be depressed. They can follow along my stuff, follow along my journey. I speak very candidly about it on my channel. I don't hold back. I'm very straight talking, very straightforward. I'm honest with people. Just try to give people some insights into all that. But the diet side of things is definitely a key.
Yeah. Well, that's great. And I think it's really important. And I really appreciate you talking about these sorts of things because, it's talking about our own personal, issues is not always easy. And it's not, that's always necessary. It's our own business. And so I appreciate you coming out and talking about that because I know that there are a lot of people who end up seeing this and being really inspired by it. I did I've spoken about autism with yourself and on other things and done sort of standalone things on autism as well. And it's something that I think is really important because it's something that can be helped. And this is in the literature, it's in the data, and we're seeing real people apply this to their lives and improve. And even as adults, they can improve dramatically, and as kids as well. And so, it's something that I feel, strongly about getting out there. So I appreciate you saying that, talking about this. And, one thing I'll say is I did a video on autism, talking about autism. And, and I sort of at the end of it, I was like, hey, if people have, dealt with this in their own lives or in their family members or children's lives, please do leave a comment and talk about it. And I had some amazing comments from people on how amazing their experiences had been with themselves, with their children, children that had been completely nonverbal. Now all of a sudden were speaking again and being able to do well in school and doing better. Ali Carnivore had her on the podcast, like 2 years ago. And I met her at KetoCon like 3 years ago or 2 years ago. And, but it's 3 KetoCons ago now. And I, conversed with her online before, and she came up with her kids and, just happy, nice, normal kids. And she said, this is my son, and he's actually a nonverbal autistic. And I was just like, I was in my head, I was just like, I'm pretty sure I just heard him speak. And then she said, when eating carbohydrates. And that was it. And so they figured that out, and they went ketogenic carnivore, and he started becoming more verbal and talking. And then he would go over to a relative's house and grandparents, and they try to, buy their love with candies and cookies and cake and all that sort of stuff, and come back and wouldn't speak for 4 days. 4 days it would take them to recover. And then they got, were more better able to get him on long-term, ketogenic carnivore sort of things. And after a couple of years, he actually tested into the gifted program at school. He went from being nonverbal in, special ed programs, basically, and went from that to going into gifted programs. I mean, being able to just completely reverse the direction of someone's life like that, is just amazing. And one of the comments in that that really stuck with me, something it would be interesting to hear your thoughts on, was someone said, imagine living in a world of your mind's own creation and being very happy there, and then one day deciding to only eat meat, and then a year later realizing that the world that you had lived in and always known was not the real world. And now that you're in the real world and you can see it, and you realize that you're a grown adult and you don't have any life skills, and you don't have any interpersonal skills, and you don't have any job skills, and that you don't have the infrastructure to live a normal life. And he said, I don't have to guess at what that's like. I'm living that. And first of all, scary as hell. But also, wow, what a huge difference that must have been with that person that consciously saw that evolution of his own reality. And then the really inspiring things were, there's about 3 people who commented and said, hey, I was there 2 years ago. It gets better. You'll be fine. And I just thought that was absolutely incredible that that's possible, that someone can have that experience. And B, that there's other people out there that did it and were able to encourage them and say, hey, it gets better. You can do this. You can be like Jonathan and win a bodybuilding competition and get your life back. And so I thought that was amazing. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, one of the reasons I'm quite touched, sorry, I've got a little tear for a second, but it does remind me so much of my journey, honestly. I look back and think, 5 years ago, where was I? What was I doing? What could I be doing now if it wasn't for this way of eating and, coming across people's videos and stuff like that online? And I'm like, I could be somewhere very, very bad right now. Honestly, I can't stress it enough. And I'm part of the reason why I make all these videos, like baby Jonathan, The guy, there'd be guys out there watching us thinking like, oh, this is a load of crap. Honestly, it's not. It's there's nothing better for it. And we see like in the data of like the ketogenic diets, at least, with metabolic psychiatry, things like that. Dr. Rachel Brown, people like that, Dr. Georgia Ede, that are talking about these sort of things. And these people are in real life practice and are seeing changes which would otherwise not be apparent if it wasn't for this way of eating. It just doesn't happen, because I never realized anything wrong with me, wrong. Now I look at myself in a different light. And having that diagnosis when I was an adult, when I was older, was quite shocking. Because you don't, although you kind of feel like you're a bit different, you're a bit of an outcast, black sheep, you see that other side of it. So you make the change, you experience the change, you're back on the other side, and you look back and think, baby Jonathan, he wouldn't be alive right now. So I can see that for sure. But I just hate people watch this in full and they sort of understand that it's not at the end of everything. You'll look back and almost laugh at yourself thinking, baby Josh, baby Lily, or whatever your name happens to be, there's light at the end of the tunnel, as cliche as it sounds. You just have to get there and make that change like now. Or yesterday even, before you even watch this. And if you're on that fence, get off that fence. Get on the side of us, real positive, like-minded people that are trying to, put out good content to help you. So people like baby Jonathan that would probably not exist right now, that were, undiagnosed, struggling in life, dealing with, just all these inner demons and like stress and torment. A lot of it's placed upon yourself because you don't fit in. But once you've realized that and you come out the other side, honestly, the benefits just begin to add up more and more and more. And what I say to people a lot is, to make like a gingerbread man picture of yourself, like a skeleton or a body or something, and write down how you feel out of 10, head to toe. Maybe say, head, depressed, brain fog, tired, anxious, no friends, miserable, no social circle. Oh, knees sore, back aches, this sort of thing. Go through your whole body, do a score out of 10. Then do it again like a week later on the carnivore diet, and do it again a week later, then a week later. You'll start to see that trend begin to pick up. So I'm still looking at this trend myself. I'm the most self-critical person you could ever imagine. And part of the reason why I probably do bodybuilding is because it takes away that constant self-evaluation, because it gives me something different to value that isn't relative to my inner self. Always check yourself, reevaluate who you are as a person, and see what benefits you can get, because some of you guys out there will be absolutely shocked what you can achieve if you just get out of your own way, eat the right diet, try these biohacks that we talked about in this discussion. And there's lots of people out there that do want to help you. I mean, I'm looking through Dr. Chaffee's comment section sometimes. I can't keep up with the comments I get, and I'm like swarmed by it. I get 200 to 300 notifications every day.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Dr. Chaffee's getting thousands every day. But he makes the effort to go through and talk to real people with him, his real self. It's him answering these questions, guys. And he's being professional about it. And, he's putting out his best foot forward. And he's doing it for people like, I know Dr. Chaffee has a relative that lives with autism. I know he's doing it partly for people like that are almost shrouded in this like hidden cupboard in the corner, being ignored, not being shown these things, not being found, these things being found online. So the more we talk about it, so if you're watching this now and you're, say, living with autism, you've got a mobile phone, you can talk on a camera, you've been on this way of eating for 2 years, get on the show, talk to Chaffee, send me a message, an email,
Yeah, definitely.
We'd like to discuss it. We'd like to find out what you can do and what you've achieved, because it does inspire, it does get out to more people over time.
Yeah, definitely. And I really love seeing those stories of people defying the odds and really changing their lives in ways that the society and medical science is adamant that cannot be done. And yet we're doing it, and you're doing it and you've done it.
Yeah.
And and so I really appreciate your example to everybody else. And I hope that people do reach out to you and to me, and we can keep getting people's stories out there to help encouraging others as well. And
absolutely,
you better go on track. So Jonathan, thank you so much for that. That was absolutely fantastic. It was a pleasure to see you again. Thank you so much for your time and your insights today. I really appreciate it. So
thank you. Take care.
No. So where can people find you and follow you? Your YouTube channel, Instagram, things like that. Where do we find you, buddy?
Check out my site at compositionconsultant.com, where your journey to peak performance and optimal health begins. With a degree in human nutrition and over 15 years of training experience, I've guided more than 400 carnivores to not just meet, but exceed their physique and performance goals. Through personalised consultations, comprehensive ebooks and dedicated coaching, I'm here to ensure your success. Join the ranks of those who have transformed their lives. It's time to align your physique goals with positive health outcomes. Visit compositionconsultant.com today and take the first step towards the best version of you.
Sure. So my YouTube channel is Carnivore Muscle. I'll just bring up my logo quickly. I've not actually got. I should be wearing it, but it's the hottest day of the year.
Yeah,
You can find me there.
Balmy 15 degrees.
I've got like 10 of it. I
England.
only wear these now. I'm not.
Yeah.
It's hot, guys. Yeah. So Carnivore Muscle on YouTube. Carnivore Muscle on Instagram, and my website is compositionconsultant.com. That's just my website. Coaching plans, ebooks, free books. I give out stuff for free as well. I'm not absolutely greedy like some people. What else do I do? You know, all that sort of stuff. Diet plans, training plans, body composition stuff. Pretty much all you need to build muscle, lose fat on a carnivore diet: male, female, young, old, disabled, able-bodied, whatnot. So yeah, you can find me quite easily through those routes.
All right. Sounds good. Well, I'll put all those links in the description and people can find you there below. And yeah, Jonathan, great to see you again. Hope to see you soon. And good luck in your next competition, buddy. I'm sure you'll do great.
Thank you. I'm going to try and make the community proud and get some more pro athletes out there.
No, you've already done that, buddy. And I'm sure you'll keep doing it. So thanks, man. We'll see you next time. And thank you, everybody, for joining me. Hopefully you found that helpful. If you like that, please hit like and subscribe. Go over to Jonathan's channel and subscribe to him as well to see more of his content. And if you know someone who's getting ready for a fitness competition and thinking about the carnivore diet, or has someone that has autism or has a family member with autism, please do send this over to them as well so they can take a look and see what they think. Thank you all very much, and we'll see you next time.
Build muscle and lose fat on the carnivore diet.